Clangings is despite its plural title, is really, it's one poem in 49 untitled sections. The speaker is definitely not me. He manifests a condition that's associated with schizophrenia and the manic state of manic depression, clang association. And I've used the term clang association as sort of a metonym for a whole range of different speech patterns that are associated with the mental condition. Rhymes, puns, neologisms, word salad is another term that refers to schizophrenic and manic speech. I got interested in this because of some colleagues of mine who were giving me some examples, relating some examples to me, and I sensed pretty quickly that some of the ways in which sound-driven speech draws on the same well springs as certain kinds of poetic speech. But there was a certain irony that seemed really clear to me. What poets and most writers would sell a close relative for, when language takes on a life of its own, is exactly what can be so painful for those for whom language is in control of them. Because of that, I decided to use as an epigraph to the book a line from T.S. Eliot. So I get a chance to honor the Eliot critic as well. Way back when I was 17 years old, I first heard from the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock this very simple, resonant statement: "It is impossible to say just what I mean." I'll just say a few more things, and then I'm just going to read as many of them as I can. I think they form a particular trajectory through the 4 parts of the book. We learn about his, what I like to call the demography of his inner life, the people inside there, one person in particular who has a name. He shifts gears to talking more about his family in the 2nd section. 3rd section, there is a loss that the poems afterwards, the sections afterwards, recoil from, respond to. And then in the 4th section, as I was working on the manuscript, my dear friend Joyce Pesaroff, who reads everything I write before it goes anywhere, she said, "Stephen, this guy has got to get out more." So the last section, he gets out more, but there's as much sort of intervention in the last section from the world as entry into the world. You made a reference to children's verse or children's stories, and I like to suggest to those I'm reading some of these poems to think about when nonsense verse or nonsense of any sort was emotionally expressive, despite or maybe because of the lack of linear sense. Louise Glick says in a essay, "The case for nonsense is not the same thing as the case against meaning." And I truly wish I had said that. So he begins by saying, "I hear the dinner plates gossip, Mom collected to 100. My friends say, get on board, but I'm not bored. Dad's a nap lying by the fire. That's why when radios broadcast news, news broadcast from radios gives air to my kinship, Dickie, who says he'd go dead if ever I discovered him to them. I took care, then, the last time bedrooms banged, to tape over the outlets, swipe the prints off DVDs, weep up the tea stains where once was coffee. Not one seep from him since. What you wander. Do I mean? Except for slinging my songs wayward home. How do things and people go, is what I mean. I forgot to say thank you to Meg for inviting me to the reading. I'm reading this poem and I'm thinking, Cramer, you forgot to say that. Say thank you to Meg. That's an example of how the mind works in stereo or quadrophonics. One of the things I found both a challenge and an opportunity in writing a book-length poem in sections that has a quasi-narrative and a characters was that there were things that I didn't know about the character and didn't need to know. And I am just imagining that this is one of the ambiguities and again opportunities that fiction writers have. They know as much as they need to know about their characters, but they can have certain sort of agnostic attitudes towards their characters as well. And in this case, some of the poems I'm going to read now suggest some aspects of school background, religious background, but I would not be one to say exactly what those are. A page writes me, my words blue, made in a plant called England. In school, England was London. I blew world geo. He was also a tutor who purpled my crying. I discussed his eyes into a gray blind man being led by the boy who spotted the viper winking but won't say. It gets dreadful, this hearing, only to overhear bustling about me over there, whispers not there at all. Teach me a letter. Give me a pass. I need to work on my main idea. The black eyes learn, a semi-coma torn from a page of his master class. Of all my inmates, okay, patience. One mate I liked like I like myself. Trained me to play dumb, play deaf to the weirds, and called it patience. I feel like my plosives are sort of making the bookcase rattle. Okay, Dickie comes a little bit more into focus in this poem. I stashed my secret name in its haven. Think I mean Dick when I say Dickie? I do, and I don't, or did, but won't say anyway. Makes a greener chameleon. And his name doesn't stain forms, stays taut in the face of taunts, refrains from songs. Words can break bones, but my silent one doesn't form stains. Dickie hurled a foot through my door is all, slipped fine out of the birth slime. Someone's personality christened him, not mine. If floor lamps upset a floor, his phrases bite moons into the dark. I recover them behind my horn rims. Gored in half or not, totalitarianism's tell liarisms won't make him the dick who talked. Quiet as a virus, everyone lying inert, he inserts into, stands alert, becomes a member. That's his cavort. I know, hold in his yowl, not alone. Someone has asked him something about his religious attitudes before he speaks this one. Excuse me. My notion of heaven? Plum garden, symmetrically. What wanting rings about. By the 5th or 11th prayer, right? It'll come to some soul of an equation. The aqueous solution at the equinox. Dickie tells me it's a very big number, a numb digit, particulate. Therefore, it ducks the riddle grain put to the fox. Forks can't solve it any more than a kettle. Forks and kettles are found in the gospel where they go horn to horn with the devil. Look, here's his hide bristling in a bottle. How come certain hydras upset me? How many earthworms fit in a home? When did the cool of a garden go warm? I think it stems from how he made a body out of fish he couldn't school to swim. Like a surgeon, with his slice to inside, he overshadows the light he divided. He created swine to swindle them. This is since they're all untitled, my reading list looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 18, 31, 33. Reminds me of an old joke that I could spend the rest of the night telling, so I think I'll move on. I'll read two poems from the section where he both generally and very specifically addresses his mother and father. As far as I can say, and I know that sounds cagey and coy, as far as I know, he doesn't have any siblings. I'm speaking with my mother's voice because she always told me what to say. Because he always told me what to say, I'm speaking with my father's voice. Once, there was a son and a father. The son beamed if father got daddish. Grounded, dad was a dry, docked fish off his kilter. Air, his executioner. Twice, and toothsome, the mother esteemed so much, starlight got lost. Steam her from inside her cedar chest where hearts unlock boxes and wonder beats. Up close, Dad smelled priceless, gripping a great sea bass through the gills. Mom softened ills with menthol apples. To stand her, I withstood her caresses. Their co-stars staring from my talkies, voiceovers, visors. Their soundtracks liven up my swat and splatter flicks because they told me what to say, always. Okay, I'm gonna skip his family. He has a lot to say to them, and I'm going to move to the third section and just read a few of these poems. Dickie's death feels all over me. I try not digging at the thing. He died before I could grow his hemlock seed. Boyo, the tricksters of this cemetery, long-sleeved shorts with their shirts off, can't tell a cow's dead till it's slaughtered. He was a sublime Halloween snicker, bat dark meat, never watched golf. Not much now, but gum and minerals, blue pods, tainted entertainments. Our folder warps, drifts, frags, taunts. Everest ground down to soil samples. I've lost my sprite, my shot at distemper. Nobody's rabies can pillow this blow. Nobody's but Dickie's. My he is O, who once flicked hearts, a lamplighter. I could clang wish bells, break out a dish, but I know he's the headache at the base of my throat. He's left ice in my voice, foam around rocks where we used to fish. This is one where he has a kind of a hallucination. After that loss, although we haven't seen the end of Dickie in the book, he's sort of dead for now at that point. There are a lot of poems in which there are holes in things. And in this one, there's a fantasy of sort of filling that hole up. A finch in my chest flinches to get heard. Wingman sewed it in. I hear the chewy, achoo in there. Tiny beck beating the big heartbeat. Mind you, it takes brains to slice open a hide, scoop out the marble muscles, craze a rib cage, uncoil the aorta, slide in a gift like his. The elf chirruping in myself, itself elfin, the self's wit part want. Pity I'm not someone else's heart, elf elsewhere, another body's grief. I don't mind my beater's a warbler, or how in the skin is the finch's cry. Eat, sweat, wet seat, its homunculi pinions ping in my rock tumbler's cavity. I place my ear to my chest. Finch flitters from the solar plexus. Beaky reminders keeping pace. Oh, my minute pecs, tend your nest. Oh, this is one, I read it and described the context for it. Many of these poems do actually take place in imagined settings. And when I read it, a student asked me afterward, he said, but you don't really know till the end, till the last stanza, what the sort of dramatic context is for the poem. And that was interesting to me, because I thought that would be okay, if, because you could go back, read it again. Now, I'm going to read it without saying what the context is. I don't mean to read it like a riddle, but, someone feel free to come up and say, I still didn't get where it took place. He says, iris of the one-eyed Satan, see it? X-ray of a horse pout about to eat me. Amputee kissing a double amputee. Exploded nova, no, what an idiot I am, fly gotten crushed by a shovel. That black is somebody's childhood shit spread on a microscope slide. If E cuts in line, evil becomes vile. A woman's shadow on her back, legs open like pudding's been splattened by a bullet train's million-mile second. Take away the veins. That's the bags I stuffed my faces in before their faces mixed each other up and made mine. What a kid drew in art class, a brain-dead kid. Not sure what that clot is. Or their smudges. Maybe ink blots? Somebody dripped ink on paper, folded the paper top to bottom or side to side. The ink blotted and created ink blots? Just a few more. I got to move on to when he gets out into the world. is sort of a commuter's nightmare. Nobody's safe inside the airtight zones the saved fly blind in, and they aren't saved. People drive deaf and dumb because jade rain's always blazing out their cell phones. I'm not scared of enemies, just their velocity. When a starling comes out, it's an incisor, a scissor of ire, key swallowed, a seedy stare. When stares start, there's no stopping the eye. People are in pain inside their membranes. A blue forehead vine earmarks those people to other people whose skin is made of marble. People whisper to brushing people in trains. Super lunar windows, loops, straps, rings. I hang on to those things if I ride the subways. Otherwise, pickpockets get pecks in my eyes. I can't pick the pettings from the walletings. I hate how faces rhyme for days at a time. Then they seem seen. Then they look at you. Then stop looking like faces. I saw that blue vine in me too. Scissor it out, vein by vein. And then I'll read one of the poems that, one of the sections in which there is a rebellion against an intervention. And then the book ends with a clanging of 5 quatrains, and then a single quatrain, and then an adaptation of a Fernando Pessoa poem. And I've still unclear of how this book ends in some ways. I feel like it ends 3 times. And I'm going to try to read them through and just let them let the juxtapositions do what they do. But before that, this is addressed to an intervener. You say I'm in one of my highs. Maybe I am. And maybe my eyesight's an MRI and I'm its fiancé. I say you're in one of my belows. So hands off my lobes, Dr. Will Bill Ignoble. You don't have a clue. Do I hear voices? Sure, that's you. Administrator of minuscule cubicles. No way my cubicle's minuscule. People talk to me in tinny hordes eddying in the air, where words heard then hide out in a shell shaped like an ear, like Africa's shaped like an elephant's ear. My mind thinks like an islander. You rave to me about manias as if Dickie's still here. Miss him. Mr. Headphone's been on the fritz since ages ago we itched itches. Miss him. Miss him. Miss him. Dickie, my door, I'm seeing. Yesterday I can tackle after all, and I feel like it opens an ocean view from my parapet of mountains and moons of Mercury. Beaches needed badges on Neptune, remember? To give us a memory, Pisces, I christened you Gemini, nebula, ash, steam from a dune. We pitched tents in contentments. We sanded castles. Me, your factory of radioplasma. You, my stationary output. Now, stay put. No complaints. Dr. Rivers sees to it my seas belong. His orderlies tip white caps at my parapet. I feel well, but keep hoping to get well. Not just better, you know. But every day I feel, but every day I get well. I hope on the following day I'll feel better, but instead I feel well, turn the page. At times I feel so much, I think I'm sentimental. Come to think of it, maybe it's just thought, and I feel nothing much at all. We live one life living, another thinking, which one's true, which false. The worst fate, to spend a life thinking until that life is not the life you felt you lived. And that last part is after Fernando Pessoa. Thank you very much.